Thank you very much, President Shin, for your invitation to speak at the 6th Nuclear International Cooperation webinar of CONICOF on the global topic of high relevance, the Sustainable Development Goals, where nuclear science and technology play an important role. It is an honor for me to be a speaker in this important, highly relevant webinar. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please next slide. We recall that the IAEA was established in 1957 in response to the fears and expectations generated by the discoveries and diverse uses of nuclear technology to seek to accelerate and enlarge the contribution of atomic energy to peace, health, and prosperity throughout the world. 65 years later, the IAEA continues to effectively deliver on this mandate through the strategic goal of technical cooperation to increasingly promote tangible socioeconomic impact by contributing directly in a cost-effective manner to the achievement of the major sustainable development priorities of each country. Next slide, please. The Technical Cooperation Program builds national capacities in the peaceful applications of nuclear science and technology according to the priorities set by the member states. Since the past 6 years, this program has prioritized food and agriculture for enhancing food productivity, followed by health for improving quality cancer diagnosis and treatment particularly, and for safety to ensure safe use of radiation technologies. Demand for industrial applications is also quite high in our region. This also includes the applications of radiation technology and nuclear techniques to address environmental problems, including plastic pollution. 8 countries in our region are embarking on nuclear power program, and TC support is in accordance with the IAEA milestones approach. We can note that through this program, 9 of the 17 SDGs are covered through nuclear science and technology. Next slide, please. So 42 of the 175 member states of the IAEA are in Asia and the Pacific, which spans from the Pacific Islands to Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East. And as Director CK has mentioned, 37 of these 42 countries are recipients of Technical Cooperation Program. 8 of them are least developing countries, 7 are small island developing states in the Pacific. 2 regional agreements exist for our region, the Regional Cooperative Agreement for Asia, to which Korea is very actively supporting and participating. And the second one is related to the Arab countries. And there are 5 donor countries that also includes Korea. Therefore, the intellectual, technological, and economic strengths in the region provide excellent opportunities to develop capabilities on the safe and peaceful use of nuclear technologies for various development sectors. Next slide, please. So well-documented peaceful use of nuclear technology is for enhancing food availability and productivity, contributing to goals 1, no poverty, 2, zero hunger, 3, good health and well-being. Through the TC program of the RCA, Regional Cooperative Agreement, mutant varieties have improved the quality of crops, their nutritional value, and market prices, thus enhancing food security and agricultural production in the region. Additionally, mutant crop varieties have better resistance to diseases and yield more. In fact, the 2020 publication on Social and Economic Impact Assessment of Mutation Breeding in Crops of the RCA program in Asia and the Pacific, reflected here in this slide, reflects that through induced mutation breeding, new mutant varieties produce over 30% more yield in comparison to control crops. Next slide, please. One of the areas with very distinct peaceful use of nuclear technology is in medicine. which is one of the top priorities of our region, directly linked to SDG 3 on good health and well-being. For several decades, the IAEA has been providing a holistic approach to the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of cancer for improving radiation medicine capacities and in building the cancer workforce. According to the Socioeconomic Impact Assessment released last April, in the last 20 years, the Technical Cooperation Program has supported the establishment of nearly 3,000 radiation oncology departments, and through capacity building efforts, there are over 200% increase in the workforce, which includes radiation oncologists, medical physicists, radiation therapists, and nurses. Next slide, please. However, with more than 19 million new cases and 10 million deaths in 2020 alone, which is projected to increase in the next 2 decades to 30 million new cases and 16 million cancer deaths, it is crucial for comprehensive packages delivered in an integrated manner to bolster a wide range of partnerships enabling the development of radiation medicine capabilities. One recent initiative is the Race of Hope, launched by our Director General, Mr. Rafael Mariano Grossi, to enhance access to quality and safe cancer diagnosis and treatment in all countries. The capabilities of institutions in Korea can support to accelerate the improvement of capabilities in several of our countries in Asia and the Pacific and beyond. Next slide, please. The Zoonotic Disease Integrated Action, ZODIAC, initiative was launched in June 2020 by the DG himself to help countries strengthen the preparedness and capabilities to rapidly detect and timely respond to outbreaks. The ZODIAC network comprises of 126 laboratories designated by respective countries in 4 regions, and 25 of which are in Asia and the Pacific. These laboratories engage in training workshops virtually right now, meetings and briefings, and have access to educational material. This is just a start of the many efforts to strengthening these laboratories. Next slide, please. SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, directly improves human welfare and fuels socio and economic development. In fact, energy is central to enabling the progress of all the 17 SDGs for alleviating poverty with improved infrastructures, facilitating access to food, and supporting education as well as technological advancements. The problems faced by our world today, from severe impacts of climate change, stresses on the ecosystems, require clean energy solutions that meet climate actions, reduce pollution, and protect the ecosystems. There is a need for alternative ways to producing energy to meet this, using low-carbon energy sources like nuclear energy. The IAEA report on nuclear energy for a net zero world points out that although only 10% of energy generation is fueled by nuclear power, the sector already provides over 800,000 jobs. That is a major socioeconomic impact. But the magnitude of nuclear's availability is not fully understood by individual countries and regions. The DG has announced Atoms for Net Zero, an initiative at the 27th Conference of the Parties to the UN framework during COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. The IAEA continues to help the countries assess the potential of nuclear power according to the decision of the countries themselves, whether through traditional large nuclear power plants or through newer technologies such as SMRs. Next slide, please. What about SDG 14? In many parts of the world, the ocean is headed for a collapse. This means that the way we exploit seas and coastal areas destroys not only their biodiversity, but also their ability to meet our basic needs. Climate change is worsening this situation. As fish stocks crash and coral reefs die off, millions of people who depend on the oceans are at risk of losing the only source of income. Next slide, please. Plastic pollution in the oceans is truly a global concern. It affects countries all over the world, especially our countries in Southeast Asia. And if this trend continues, according to the narrative, it is expected that by 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in our oceans. As a transboundary issue, plastic pollution has mobilized many sectors to tackle the problem. The calls for collaborative work and for policies have increased. A common call is for technology and science-based solutions and management measures. This is where the IAEA technical capabilities have an important niche, having the only marine laboratory in the UN system. The IAEA DG, Mr. Grossi, has launched NUTEC Plastics, Nuclear Technology for Plastics, an initiative to search for solutions to plastic pollution through 1, irradiation technologies for recycling, and 2, isotopic techniques for tracing the movements of microplastics in the marine environment, with a goal to demonstrate by 2025, through pilot recycling plants, the economic viability of plastic recycling through irradiation technology, and by 2026, to have established the global marine plastics monitoring network of 50 laboratories worldwide. Next slide, please. Nuclear technology significantly contributes to SDG 9 that relates to industry, innovation, and infrastructure. The RCA Impact Assessment on NDT provides examples of the technology's growing application, demonstrating reduced costs in several sectors, including aerospace, shipbuilding, railway construction, power generation, and in the oil and gas industry. And NDT testing studies demonstrated that more than 3,600 NDT inspection centers in the region have been launched, and close to 190 industry bodies have established NDT services for the public. Additionally, preserving art and cultural heritage is a shared ambition of the global community. Nuclear science and technology is useful to characterize and preserve artifacts, and therefore preserve an important part of cultural heritage. Next slide, please. So ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, the UN adopted in 2015 a set of SDGs, 17 in all, as a global call for action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. Throughout Asia and the Pacific, governments are striving to achieve these goals, but the progress is insufficient and has in fact accelerated, as reflected in this report by ESCAP in 2022. Just mind the blue bars and the line of 2021. Many have not yet, are still to be achieved. If we look at Asia, which is 30% of the world's land mass and which represents 60% of the world's population, millions of people have no access to energy, to drinking water, nor to proper sanitation. And plastic pollution is worse in our region. Problems of COVID pandemic continue, and many of the countries are struggling from the effects of climate change. Next slide, please. How do we support the member states? The Technical Cooperation Program aims to support the tangible socioeconomic development in member states. It is a major contribution to SDG 17, the Partnership for the Goals. In building national capacity in the peaceful application of nuclear science and technology, the program facilitates networking and knowledge sharing and the development of suitable partnerships at all levels. On its 65th year, the Technical Cooperation Program has demonstrated various socioeconomic impacts in various development areas. Next slide, please. But we need to do more. And how can more be achieved? This requires strategic approaches, synergies, comprehensive cooperation, and coordination. For nuclear technology to be useful and beneficial, it is important to disseminate its use and benefits to all potential users and all stakeholders. The Technical Cooperation Program is delivered through South-South cooperation, triangular, and sub-regional approach via regional projects that address common issues across the region and if transboundary across different regions. So considering the specificities of the Pacific Islands, we also have a sub-regional approach, tackling key priority areas and facilitate the support of neighboring countries to respond to common needs. Because of the work of the IAA often relates to areas of development where other actors play a leading role, partnerships with individual member states, with international organizations and regional organizations, research institutions, the academe, the private sector, can ensure coordinated action and the complementarity of our work. Next slide, please. So the cornerstone of all the sustainability of any nuclear application is the availability of skilled staff. So education and training is important to address the common issues, including public concern for many things nuclear. A strategic approach through education can overcome normally aversion to many things nuclear towards appreciation. Why? Understanding nuclear, its why, will widen its use. It is important to have sustainable supportive programs like the IAA Marie Sklodowska Fellowship Program launched also by the DG that inspire and encourage young women to pursue career in nuclear science and technology, nuclear safety and security, or non-proliferation. In Asia and the Pacific, we have introduced nuclear science and technology in secondary schools. And this has been successful, having reached 1 million students in 3 years. Through the introduction of nuclear science and technology in the academic curricula, in former science curricula, we have increased the understanding of nuclear science and technology in teachers and in students. However, that's not enough. And now we're working in tertiary level, this time through the International Nuclear Science and Technology Academy, aiming to reach 10 million students by empowering university teachers to teach nuclear science and technology in university science subjects, particularly on their relevance and use for achieving the SDGs. We hope to reach this goal with the cooperation of all member states and the support of all member states, including Korea, in 4 years. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, indeed there are demonstrated socioeconomic impacts in all sectors. Transferring and sharing technologies across borders for their good and safe use for development is essential. With strategic approaches, synergies, comprehensive and cooperation and coordination, nuclear science and technology adds value to defining and searching the solutions for global challenges that we are facing. Because only through collaborative work converging towards the achievement of global targets can the goals be achieved. It has been proven, of course, through the years that the IAA Technical Cooperation Program is an effective mechanism in order to promote cooperation, enhancing an understanding through education on the role of nuclear science and technology will ensure sustainability and effective use of the technologies, including their safe and wider use. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a very inspiring webinar and also a continuation of this inspiration towards whatever you do in all your efforts. Thank you very much.